Hello everyone. Welcome back to Storytime Sunday. We're going to be continuing Homer's The Iliad and the Odyssey from Book 4 of the Iliad. And before we start, I'd like to say apologies to anybody who waited for a Friday stream, a free Friday. My body decided that free Friday meant I was free not to stream if I didn't want to. And I slept instead. So, there's that. Again, apologies if you were looking forward to that. I'll be sure to make it up to you sometime. But at any rate, Book 4. A quarrel in Olympus. Minerva goes down and persuades Phandarus to violate the oaths by wounding Menelaus with an arrow. Agamemnon makes a speech and sends for Machaon. He then goes about among his captains and upbraids Ulysses and We're already off to a great start. Sthenelus, Sthenelus, who each of them retort fiercely. Diomed checks Sthenelus, and the two hosts then engage, with great slaughter on either side. Okay. Now the gods were sitting with Jove in council upon the golden floor, while Hebe went around pouring out nectar for them to drink. And as they pledged one another in their cups of gold, they looked down upon the town of Troy. The son of Saturn then began to tease Juno, talking at her so as to provoke her. "Menelaus," said he, "has two good friends among the goddesses, Juno of Argos and Minerva of Alalcomene. But they only sit still and look on, while Venus keeps ever by Alexandrus' side to defend him in any danger. Indeed, she has just rescued him when he made sure that it was all over with him, for the victory really did lie with Menelaus. We must consider what we shall do about all this. Shall we set them fighting anew, or make peace between them? If you will agree to this last, Menelaus can take back Helen, and the city of Priam may remain still inhabited." Minerva and Juno muttered their discontent as they sat side by side hatching mischief for the Trojans. Minerva scowled at her father, for she was in a furious passion with him, and said nothing. But Juno could not contain herself. "Dread son of Saturn," said she, "what, pray, is the meaning of all this? Is my trouble, then, to go for nothing, and the sweat that I have sweated, to say nothing of my horses, while getting the people together against Priam and his children? Do as you will, but we other gods shall not all of us approve your counsel." Jove was angry and answered, "My dear, what harm have Priam and his sons done you, that you are so hotly bent on sacking the city of Ilias? Will nothing do for you but you must within their walls and eat Priam raw, with his sons and all the other Trojans to boot? Have it your way, then, for I would not have this matter become a bone of contention between us. I say further, and lay my saying to your heart, if ever I want to sack a city belonging to friends of yours, you must not try to stop me. You will have to let me do it, for I am giving in to you sorely against my will. Of all inhabited cities under the sun and stars of heaven, there was none that I so much respected as Ilias with Priam and his whole people. Equitable feasts were never wanting about my altar, nor the savor of burning fat, which is honor due to ourselves." "My own 3 favorite cities," answered Juno, "are Argos, Sparta, and Mycenae. Sack them whenever you may be displeased with them. I shall not defend them, and I shall not care. Even if I did, and tried to stay you, I should take nothing by it, for you are much stronger than I am. But I will have my own work wasted. I will not have my own work wasted. I, too, am a god, and of the same race with yourself. I am Saturn's eldest daughter, and am honorable not on this ground only, but also because I am your wife, and you are king over the gods. Let it be a case, then, of give and take between us, and the rest of the gods will follow our lead. Tell Minerva to go and take part in the fight at once, and let her contrive that the Trojans shall be the first to break their oaths and set upon the Achaeans." The sire of gods and men heeded her words, and said to Minerva, "Go at once unto the Trojan and Achaean hosts, and contrive that the Trojans shall be the first to break their oaths and set upon the Achaeans." This was what Minerva was already eager to do, so down she darted from the topmost summits of Olympus. She shot through the sky as some brilliant meteor, which the son of scheming Saturn has sent as a sign to mariners or to some great army, and a fiery train of light follows in its wake. The Trojans and Achaeans were struck with awe as they beheld, and one would turn to his neighbor, saying, "Either we shall again have war and din of combat, or Jove the Lord of battle will now make peace between us." Thus did they converse. Then Minerva took the form of Laodocus, son of Antenor, and went through the ranks of the Trojans to find Pandarus, the redoubtable son of Lycaon. She found him standing among the stalwart heroes who had followed him from the banks of the Aesopus, so she went close up to him and said, "Brave son of Lycaon, will you do as I tell you? If you dare send an arrow at Menelaus, you will win honor and thanks from all the Trojans, and especially from Prince Alexandrus. He would be the first to requite you very handsomely if he could see Menelaus mount his funeral pyre, slain by an arrow from your hand. Take your home aim then, and pray to Lycian Apollo, the famous archer. Vow that when you get home to your strong city of Zelea, you will offer a hecatomb of firstling lambs in his honor." His fool's heart was persuaded, and he took his bow from its case. This bow was made from the horns of a wild ibex, which he had killed as it was bounding from a rock. He had stalked it, and it had fallen as the arrow struck it to the heart. Its horns were 16 palms long, and a worker in horn had made them into a bow, smoothing them well down and giving them tips of gold. When Pandarus had strung his bow, he laid it carefully on the ground, and his brave followers held their shields before him, lest the Achaeans should set upon him before he had shot Menelaus. Then he opened the lid of his quiver and took out a winged arrow that had not yet been shot, fraught with the pangs of death. He laid the arrow on the string and prayed to Lycian Apollo, the famous archer, vowing that when he got home to his strong city of Zelea, he would offer a hecatomb of firstling lambs in his honor. He laid the notch of the arrow on the oxhide bowstring, and drew both notch and string to his breast, till the arrowhead was near the bow. Then when the bow was arched into a half circle, he let fly, and the bow twanged, and the string sang as the arrow flew gladly on over the heads of the throng. But the blessed gods did not forget thee, O Menelaus, and Jove's daughter, driver of the spoil, was the first to stand before thee and ward off the piercing arrow. She turned it from his skin as a mother whisks a fly from off her child when it is sleeping sweetly. She guided it to the part where the golden buckles of the belt that passed over his double cuirass were fastened, so the arrow struck the belt that went tightly round him. It went right through this, and through the cuirass of cunning workmanship. It also pierced the belt beneath it, which he wore next his skin to keep out darts or arrows. It was this that served him in the best stead. Nevertheless, the arrow went through it and grazed the top of the skin, so that blood began flowing from the wound. And when some woman of Meonie or Caria strains purple dye onto a piece of ivory that is to be the cheek piece of a horse, and it is to be laid up in a treasure house, many a knight is fain to bear it, but the king keeps it as an ornament of which both horse and driver may be proud. Even so, O Menelaus, were your shapely thighs and your legs down to your fair ankles stained with blood. When King Agamemnon saw the blood flowing from the wound, he was afraid, and so was brave Menelaus himself, till he saw that the barbs of the arrow and the thread that bound the arrowhead to the shaft were still outside the wound. Then he took heart, but Agamemnon heaved a deep sigh as he held Menelaus's hand in his own, and his comrades made moan in concert. "Dear brother," he cried, "I have been the death of you in pledging this covenant and letting you come forward as our champion. The Trojans have trampled on their oaths and have wounded you, Nevertheless, the oath of fellowship in which we have put our trust shall not be vain. If he that rules Olympus fulfill it not here and now, he will yet fulfill it hereafter, and they shall pay dearly with their lives, and with their wives and children. The day will surely come when mighty Iliad shall be laid low, with Priam and Priam's people, when the son of Saturn from his high throne shall overshadow them with his awful aegis in punishment of their present treachery. This shall surely be. But how, Menelaus, shall I mourn you, if it be your lot now to die? I should return to Argos as a byword, for the Achaeans will at once go home. We shall leave Priam and the Trojans the glory of still keeping Helen, and the earth will rot your bones as you lie here at Troy, with your purpose not fulfilled. Then shall some braggart Trojan leap upon your tomb and say, Ever thus may Agamemnon wreak his vengeance. He brought his army in vain. He has gone home to his own land with empty ships, and has left Menelaus behind him. Thus will one of them say, and may the earth then swallow me. But Menelaus reassured him and said, Take heart, and do not alarm the people. The arrow has not struck me in a mortal part, for my outer belt of burnished metal first stayed it, and under this my cuirass and the belt of mail which the bronzesmiths made me. And Agamemnon answered, I trust, dear Menelaus, that it may be even so. But the surgeon shall examine your wound, and lay herbs upon it to relieve your pain. Oh, a little drama for you. He then said to Talthybius, Talthybius, tell Machaon, son to the great physician, Aesculapius, to come and see Menelaus immediately. Some Trojan or Lycian archer has wounded him with an arrow to our dismay, and to his own great glory. Talthybius did as he was told, and went about the host trying to find Machaon. Presently he found, standing amid the brave warriors who had followed him from Tricca. Thereon he went up to him and said, Son of Aesculapius, King Agamemnon says you are to come and see Menelaus immediately. Some Trojan or Lycian archer has wounded him with an arrow to our dismay, and to his own great glory. Thus did he speak, and Machaon was moved to go. They passed through the spreading host of the Achaeans, and went on till they came to the place where Menelaus had been wounded, and was lying with the chieftains gathered in a circle round him. Machaon passed into the middle of the ring, and at once drew the arrow from the belt, bending its barbs back through the force with which he pulled it out. He undid the burnished belt, and beneath this the cuirass and the belt of mail which the bronzesmiths had made. Then, when he had seen the wound, he wiped away the blood and applied some soothing drugs which Chiron had given to Aesculapius, out of the good will he bore him. While they were thus busy about Menelaus, the Trojans came forward against them, for they had put on their armor and now renewed the fight. You would not have then found Agamemnon asleep nor cowardly and unwilling to fight, but eager rather for the fray. He left his chariot rich with bronze and his panting steeds in charge of Eurymedon, son of Ptolemaeus, the son of Pereus, and bade him hold them in readiness against the time his limbs would weary of going about and giving orders to so many, for he went among the ranks on foot. When he saw men hasting to the front, he stood by them and cheered them on. Argives, said he, slacken not one whit in your onset. Father Jove will be no helper of liars. The Trojans have been the first to break their oaths and to attack us. Therefore, they shall be devoured of vultures. We shall take their city and carry off their wives and children in our ships. But he angrily rebuked those whom he saw shirking and disinclined to fight. Argives, he cried, cowardly, miserable creatures, have you no shame to stand here like frightened fawns who, when they can no longer scud over the plain, huddle together but show no fight? You are as dazed and spiritless as deer. Would you wait till the Trojans reach the sterns of our ships as they lie on the shore, to see whether the son of Saturn will hold his hand over you to protect you? Thus did he go about giving his orders among the ranks. Passing through the crowd, he came presently on the Cretans, arming round Idomeneus, who was at their head, fierce as a wild boar, while Meriones was bringing up the battalions that were in the rear. Agamemnon was glad when he saw him, and spoke him fairly. "Idomeneus," said he, "I treat you with greater distinction than I do any other of the Achaeans, whether in war or in other things, or at table. When the princes are mixing my choicest wines in the mixing bowls, they have each of them a fixed allowance. But your cup is kept always full like my own, that you may drink whenever you are minded. Go, therefore, into battle, and show yourself the man you have been always proud to be." Idomeneus answered, "I shall be a trusty comrade as I promised. From the first I would be. Urge on the other Achaeans, that we may join battle at once, for the Trojans have trampled upon their covenants. Death and destruction shall be theirs, seeing they have been the first to break their oaths and to attack us." The son of Atreus went on, glad at heart, till he came upon the two Ajaxes arming themselves amid a host of foot soldiers. As when a goat herd from some high post watches a storm drive over the deep before the west wind, black as pitch is the offing, and a mighty whirlwind draws towards them, so that he is afraid and drives his flock into a cave. Even thus did the ranks of stalwart youths move in a dark mass to battle under the Ajaxes, horrid with shield and spear. Glad was King Agamemnon when he saw them. "No need," he cried, "to give orders to such leaders of the Argives as you are. For of your own selves you spur your men on to fight with might and main. Would, by Father Jove, Minerva, and Apollo, that all were so minded as you are, for the city of Priam would then soon fall beneath our hands, and we would sack it." With this, he left them and went onward to Nestor, the facile leader of the Pylians, who was marshalling his men and urging them on, in company with Pelagon, Alaster, Chromius, Haemon, and Bias, shepherd of his people. He placed his knights with their chariots and horses in the front rank, while the foot soldiers, brave men and many, whom he could trust, were in the rear. The cowards he drove into the middle, and that they might fight whether they would or no. He gave his orders to the knights first, bidding them hold their horses well in hand, so as to avoid confusion. "Let no man," he said, "relying on his strength or horsemanship, get before the others and engage singly with the Trojans, nor yet let him lag behind, or you will weaken your attack. But let each, when he meets an enemy's chariot, throw his spear from his own. This be much the best. This is how the men of old took towns and strongholds. In this wise were they minded." Thus did the old man charge them, for he had been in many a fight, and King Agamemnon was glad. That was Nestor talking. "I wish," he said to him, "that your limbs were as supple and your strength as sure as your judgment is, but age, the common enemy of mankind, has laid his hand upon you. Would that it had fallen upon some other, and that you were still young." What a compliment. And Nestor, knight of Gerene, answered, "Son of Atreus, I too would gladly be the man I was when I slew mighty Eurythalion. But the gods will not give us everything at one and at the same time. I was then young, and now I am old. Still I can go with my knights, and give them that counsel which old men have a right to give. The wielding of the spear I leave to those who are younger and stronger than myself." Agamemnon went his way rejoicing, and presently found Menestheus, son of Peteos, tarrying in his place, and with him were the Athenians loud of tongue in battle. Near him also tarried cunning Ulysses. I've only said that name 800 times. With his steady Cephallenians round him. They had not yet heard the battle cry, for the ranks of Trojans and Achaeans had only just begun to move, so they were standing still, waiting for some other columns of the Achaeans to attack the Trojans and begin the fighting. When he saw this, Agamemnon rebuked them and said, "Son of Peteus, and you others, steeped in cunning, heart of guile, Why stand you here cowering and waiting on others? You two should be of all men foremost when there is hard fighting to be done. For you are ever foremost to accept my invitation when we counselors of the Achaeans are holding feast. You are glad enough then to take your fill of roast meats and to drink wine as long as you please, whereas now you would not care, though you saw 10 columns of Achaeans engage the enemy in front of you. Ulysses glared at him and answered, Son of Atreus, what are you talking about? How can you say that we are slack? When the Achaeans are in full fight with the Trojans, you shall see, if you care to do so, that the father of Telemachus will join battle with the foremost of them. You are talking idly. When Agamemnon saw that Ulysses was angry, he smiled pleasantly at him and withdrew his words. Ulysses, said he, noble son of Laertes, excellent in all good counsel, I have neither fault to find nor orders to give you, for I know your heart is right, and that you and I are of a mind. Enough. I will make you amends for what I have said, and if any ill has now been spoken, may the gods bring it to nothing. Yeah. He then left them and went on to others. Presently he saw the son of Tydeus, noble Diomed, standing by his chariot and horses, with Sthenelus, the son of Capaneus, beside him, whereon he began to upbraid him. Son of Tydeus, he said, why stand you cowering here upon the brink of battle? Tydeus did not shrink thus, but was ever ahead of his men when leading them on against the foe. So at least say they that saw him in battle, for I never set eyes upon him myself. They say that there was no man like him. He came once to Mycenae, not as an enemy but as a guest, in company with Polynices to recruit his forces, for they were levying war against the strong city of Thebes, and prayed our people for a body of picked men to help them. The men of Mycenae were willing to let them have one, but Jove dissuaded them by showing them unfavorable omens. Tydeus, therefore, and Polynices went their way. When they had got as far the deep-meadowed and rush-grown banks of the Aesopus, the Achaeans sent Tydeus as their envoy, and he found the Cadmeans gathered in great numbers to a banquet in the house of Eteocles. Stranger though he was, he knew no fear on finding himself single-handed among so many, but challenged them to contests of all kinds, and in each one of them was at once victorious, so mightily did Minerva help him. The Cadmeans were incensed at his success, and set a force of 50 youths with 2 captains, the godlike hero Maon, son of Haemon, and Polyphontes, son of Autophonus, and at their head, to lie in wait for him on his return journey. But Tydeus slew every man of them, save only Maon, whom he let go in obedience to heaven's omens. Such was Tydeus of Aetolia. His son can talk more glibly, but he cannot fight as his father did. Diomed made no answer, for he was shamed by the rebuke of Agamemnon. But the son of Capaneus took up his words and said, Son of Atreus, tell no lies, for you can speak truth if you will. We boast ourselves as better men than our fathers. We took 7-gated Thebes, though the wall was stronger, and our men were fewer in number, for we trusted in the omens of the gods and in the help of Jove, whereas they perished through their own sheer folly. Hold not, then, our fathers in like honor with us. Diomed looked sternly at him and said, Hold your peace, my friend, as I bid you. It is not amiss that Agamemnon should urge the Achaeans forward, for the glory will be his if we take the city, and his the shame if we are vanquished. Therefore, let us acquit ourselves with valor. As he spoke, he sprang from his chariot, and his armor rang so fiercely about his body that even a brave man might well have been scared to hear it. Menelaus seems like quite the hero. Aye. What a fun character. Or sorry, not Menelaus, Agamemnon. But then again, that's why I gave him the whole voice. If I'm not mistaken, there should be an ad playing in about 10 seconds. If my ad manager is set correctly, I'm gonna give it about 35 seconds. case someone's listening. But for everybody who's subscribed, or if an ad isn't exactly playing, a little secret I wanted to tell y'all. I love you. And I appreciate you. Right. Yes, anyway. Don't know what that was. As when some mighty wave that thunders on the beach, when the west wind has lashed it into fury. It has reared its head afar and now comes crashing down on the shore. It bows its arching crest high over the jagged rocks and spews its salt foam in all directions. Even so did the serried phalanxes of the Danans march steadfastly to battle. The chiefs gave orders each to his own people, but the men said never a word. No man would think it, for huge as the host was, it seemed as though there was not a tongue among them. So silent were they in their obedience. And as they marched, the armor about their bodies glistened in the sun. But the clamor of the Trojan ranks was as that of many thousand ewes that stand waiting to be milked in the yards of some rich flockmaster, and bleat incessantly in answer to the bleating of their lambs. For they had not one speech nor language, but their tongues were diverse, and they came from many different places. These were inspired of Mars, but the others by Minerva, and with them came Panic, Rout, and Strife, whose fury never tires, sister and friend of murderous Mars, who, from being at first but low in stature, grows till she uprears her head to heaven, though her feet are still on earth. She it was that went about among them, and flung down discord to the waxing of sorrow, with even hand between them. When they were got together in one place, shield clashed with spear, and spear with spear in the rage of battle. And the swords? The bossed shields beat one upon another, and there was a tramp as of a great multitude, death cry and shout of triumph of slain and slayers, and the earth ran red with blood. As torrents swollen with rain course madly down their deep channels till the angry floods meet in some gorge, and the shepherd on the hillside hears their roaring from afar. Even such was the toil and uproar of the hosts as they joined in battle. I want you to know that okay. I don't know if it would be a good idea to honor those during Sunday streams. I mean, I get that it would be very funny, and that people would look forward to it, but at the same time, my hope is kind of just to have this be a very relaxing time, for people to, just listen to a nice story. I'm already having trouble, obviously with this one especially, reading it accurately, and everything else would be, yeah. So I mean, like, if enough people were interested in that, I mean, sure. I mean, like, if people were willing to forgive that, but at the same time, when I'm uploading the VODs, I would rather have it be, uninterrupted by, because, like, how would I even do RAR? Like, I don't know, and Swear Bear would be me just going on a rant. I mean, I could probably do the Swear Bear thing, just so I could go on a rant on one of the characters, because we can easily edit that out of, like, the whole VOD thing. but I don't know, the Rar thing would be kind of difficult to do. Especially. And it takes away time from being able to hear the story. First, Antilochus slew an armed warrior of the Trojans, Echepolus, son of Thalesius, fighting in the foremost ranks. He struck at the projecting part of his helmet and drove the spear into his brow. The point of bronze pierced the bone, and darkness veiled his eyes. Headlong as a tower he fell amid the press of the fight, and as he dropped, King Elephenor, son of Chalcodon and captain of the proud Abantes, began dragging him out of reach of the darts that were falling around him, in haste to strip him of his armor. But his purpose was not for long. Agenor saw him haling the body away, and smote him in the side with his bronze-shod spear. For as he stooped, his side was left unprotected by his shield, and thus he perished. Then the fight between Trojans and Achaeans grew furious over his body, and they flew upon each other like wolves, man and man crushing one upon the other. Forthwith Ajax, son of Telamon, slew the fair youth Simoeisius, son of Anthemion, whom his mother bore by the banks of the Simois, as she was coming down from Mount Ida, where she had been with her parents to see their flocks. Therefore he was named Simoeisius, but he did not live to pay his parents for his rearing, for he was cut off untimely by the spear of mighty Ajax, who struck him in the breast by the right nipple as he was coming on among the foremost fighters. The spear went right through his shoulder, and he fell as a poplar that has grown straight and tall in a meadow by some mere, and its top is thick with branches. Then the wheelwright lays his axe to its roots, that he may fashion a felloe for the wheel of some goodly chariot, and it lies seasoning by the waterside. In such wise did Ajax fell to earth Simoeisius, son of Anthemion. Thereon Antiphus of the gleaming corslet, son of Priam, hurled a spear at Ajax from amid the crowd, and missed him, but he hit Leucus, the brave comrade of Ulysses, in the groin, as he was dragging the body of Simoeisius over to the other side. So he fell upon the body and loosed his hold upon it. Ulysses was furious when he saw Leucus slain, and strode in full armor through the front ranks till he was quite close. Then he glared round about him and took aim, and the Trojans fell back as he did so. His dart was not sped in vain, for it struck Democles, the bastard son of Priam, who had come to him from Abydos, where he had charge of his father's mares. Ulysses, infuriated by the death of his comrade, hit him with his spear on one temple, and the bronze point came through on the other side of his forehead. Thereon darkness veiled his eyes, and his armor rang rattling round him, as he fell heavily to the ground. Hector and they that were in front then gave round, while the Argives raised a shout and drew off the dead, pressing further forward as they did so. But Apollo looked down from Pergamus and called aloud to the Trojans, for he was displeased. "Trojans," he cried, "rush on the foe, and do not let yourselves be thus beaten by the Argives. Their skins are not stone, nor iron, that when hit them you do not. Okay. Their skins are not stone nor iron, that when hit them you do them no harm." A dumb sentence. I'm sorry. "Moreover, Achilles, the son of lovely Thetis, is not fighting, but is nursing his anger at the ships." Thus spoke the mighty god, crying to them from the city, while Jove's redoubtable daughter, the Tritoborn, went about among them, the hosts of the Achaeans, and urged them forward whenever she beheld them slacken. Then fate fell upon Diorus, son of Amarynceus, for he was struck by a jagged stone near the ankle of his right leg. He that hurled it was Paris, son of Imbrasus, captain of the Thracians, who had come from Aenus. Peneus and Aenus. Great. Peneus and Aenus. The bones in both the tendons were crushed by the pitiless stone. He fell to the ground on his back, and in his death throes stretched out his hands toward his comrades. But Paris, who had wounded him, sprang on him and thrust a spear into his belly, so that his bowels came gushing out upon the ground, and darkness veiled his eyes. As he was leaving the body, Thoas of Aetolius struck him in the chest near the nipple, always near the nipple, and the point fixed itself in his lungs. Thoas came close up to him, pulled the spear out of his chest, and then drawing his sword smote him in the middle of the belly, so that he died. But he did not strip him of his armor, for his Thracian comrades, men who wear their hair in a tuft at the top of their heads, stood round the body and kept him off with their long spears for all his great stature and valor. So he was driven back. Thus the two corpses lay stretched on earth near to one another, the one captain of the Thracians and the other of the Epeians, and many another fell round them. And now no man would have made light of the fighting if he could have gone about among it scatheless and unwounded, with Minerva leading him by the hand, and protecting him from the storm of spears and arrows. For many Trojans and Achaeans on that day lay stretched side by side, face downwards upon the earth. End of Book 4. Yeah, you know, from Anus. Yeah, Aeneas, but you know me. Anus and penis. Freaking Greek names. Book 5. And Book 5. The exploits of Diomed, who, though wounded by Pandarus, continues fighting. He kills Pandarus and wounds Aeneas. Venus rescues Aeneas. In this book, it's Aeneas. The A and the E are both capital, or capitalized. Venus rescues Aeneas, but being wounded by Diomed, commits him to the care of Apollo and goes to Olympus, where she is tended by her mother Dione. Mars encourages the Trojans, and Aeneas returns to the fight cured of his wound. Minerva and Juno help the Achaeans, and by the advice of the former Diomed wounds Mars, who returns to Olympus to get cured. Then Pallas Minerva put valor into the heart of Diomed, son of Tydeus, that he might excel all the other Argives and cover himself with glory. She made a stream of fire flare from his shield and helmet like the star that shines most brilliantly in summer after its bath in the waters of Oceanus. Even such a fire did she kindle upon his head and shoulders, as she bade him speed into the thickest hurly-burly of the fight. Hurly-burly? Now there was a certain rich and honorable man among the Trojans, priest of Vulcan, and his name was Darus. He had 2 sons, Phaegius and Aetius, both of them skilled in all arts of the war. These 2 came forward from the main body of Trojans, and set upon Diomed, he being on foot, while they fought from their chariot. When they were close up to one another, Phaegius took aim first, but his spear went over Diomed's left shoulder without hitting him. Diomed then threw, and his spear sped not in vain, for it hit Phaegius on the breast near the nipple, always near the nipple, and he fell from his chariot. Aetius did not dare to bestride his brother's body, but sprang from the chariot and took to flight, or he would have shared his brother's fate. Whereon Vulcan saved him by wrapping him in a cloud of darkness, that his old father might not be utterly overwhelmed with grief. But the son of Tydeus drove off with the horses, and bade his followers take them to the ships. The Trojans were scared when they saw the 2 sons of Darus, one of them in fright and the other lying dead by his chariot. Minerva, therefore, took Mars by the hand and said, Mars, Mars, bane of men, blood-stained stormer of cities, may we not now leave the Trojans and Achaeans to fight it out, and see to which of the 2 Jove will vouchsafe the victory? Let us go away and thus avoid his anger. So saying, she drew Mars out of the battle, and set him down upon the steep banks of the Scamander. Upon this the Danaans drove the Trojans back, and each one of their chieftains killed his man. First King Agamemnon flung mighty Odius, captain of the Halizoni, from his chariot. The spear of Agamemnon caught him on the broad of his back, just as he was turning in flight. It struck him between the shoulders and went right through his chest, and his armor rang rattling around him as he fell heavily to the ground. Then Idomeneus killed Phases, son of Boris the Maeonian, whom had come from Varn. Mighty Idomeneus speared him on the right shoulder as he was mounting his chariot, and the darkness of death enshrouded him as he fell heavily from the car. The squires of Idomeneus spoiled him of his armor, while Menelaus, son of Atreus, killed Scamandrius, the son of Strophius, a mighty huntsman and keen lover of the chase. Diana herself had taught him how to kill every kind of wild creature that is bred in mountain forests, but neither she nor his famed skill in archery could now save him, for the spear of Menelaus struck him in the back as he was flying. It struck him between the shoulders and went right through his chest, so that he fell headlong and his armor rang rattling around him. Armor rang rattling round. There's some weird alliteration that keeps happening here. And up there. Meriones then killed Phereclus, the son of Tecton, who was the son of Hermon, a man whose hand was skilled in all manner of cunning workmanship, for Pallas Minerva had dearly loved him. He it was that made the ships for Alexandrus, which were the beginning of all mischief, and brought evil alike both on the Trojans and on Alexandrus himself, for he heeded not the decrees of heaven. Meriones overtook him as he was flying, and struck him on the right buttock. The point of the spear went through the bone into the bladder, and death came upon him as he cried aloud and fell forward on his knees. Meges, moreover, slew Pedaeus, son of Antenor, who, though he was a bastard, had been brought up by Theano as one of her own children, for the love she bore her husband. The son of Phyleus got close up to him and drove a spear into the nape of his neck. It went under his tongue all among his teeth, so he bit the cold bronze and fell dead in the dust. Yikes. And Eurypylus, son of Euaemon, killed Hypsenor, the son of noble Dolopian, who had been made priest of the river Scamander, and was honored among the people as though he were a god. Eurypylus gave him chase as he was flying before him, smote him with his sword upon the arm, and lopped his strong hand from off it. The bloody hand fell to the ground, and the shades of death, with fate that no man can withstand, came over his eyes. Thus furiously did the battle rage between them. As for the son of Tydeus, you could not say whether he was more among the Achaeans or the Trojans. He rushed across the plain like a winter torrent that has burst its barrier in full flood. No dikes, no walls, or fruitful vineyards can embank it when it is swollen with rain from heaven. But in a moment it comes tearing onward, and lays many a field waste that many a strong man's hand has reclaimed. Even so were the dense phalanxes of the Trojans driven in rout by the son of Tydeus, and many though they were, they dared not abide his onslaught. Now when the son of Lycaon saw him scouring the plain and driving the Trojans pell-mell before him, he aimed an arrow and hit the first part of his cuirass near the shoulder. The arrow went right through the metal and pierced his flesh, so that the cuirass was covered with blood. On this the son of Lycaon shouted in triumph, "Knights Trojans, come on! The bravest of the Achaeans is wounded, and he will not hold out much longer if King Apollo was indeed with me when I sped from Lycia hither." Thus did he vaunt, but his arrow had not killed Diomed. He withdrew and made for the chariot and horses of Sthenelus, the son of Capaneus. "Dear son of Capaneus," said he, "come down from your chariot and draw the arrow out of my shoulder." Sthenelus sprang from his chariot and drew the arrow from the wound, whereon the blood came spouting out through the hole that had been made in his shirt. Then Diomed prayed, saying, "Hear me, daughter of aegis-bearing Jove, unweariable. If ever you loved my father well and stood by him in the thick of a fight, do the like now by me. Grant me to come within a spear's throw of that man and kill him. He has been too quick for me, and has wounded me. And now he is boasting that I shall not see the light of the sun much longer. Thus he prayed, and Pallas Minerva heard him. She made his limbs supple and quickened his hands and his feet. Then she went up close to him and said, Fear not, Diomed, to do battle with the Trojans, for I have set in your heart the spirit of your knightly father Tydeus. Moreover, I have withdrawn the veil from your eyes, that you know gods and men apart. If, then, any other god comes here and offers you battle, do not fight him. But should Jove's daughter Venus come, strike her with your spear and wound her. When she had said this, Minerva went away. And the son of Tydeus again took his place among the foremost fighters, 3 times more fierce even than he had been before. It was like a lion that some mountain shepherd had wounded, but not killed, as he is springing over the wall of a sheepyard to attack the sheep. The shepherd has roused the brute to fury, but cannot defend his flock. So he takes shelter under the cover of the buildings, while the sheep, panic-stricken on being deserted, are smothered in heaps one on top of the other. And the angry lion leaps out over the sheepyard wall. Even thus did Diomed go furiously out among the Trojans. He killed Astynos and Hyperion, shepherd of his people, the one with a thrust of his spear, which struck him above the nipple, the other with a sword cut on the collarbone, that severed his shoulder from his neck and back. He let both of them lie, and went in pursuit of Abas and Polyidus, sons of the old reader of dreams Eurydamas. They never came back for him to read them any more dreams, for mighty Diomed made an end of them. He then gave chase to Xanthus and Thune, the 2 sons of Phanos, both of them very dear to him, for he was now worn out with age, and begat no more sons to inherit his possessions. But Diomed took both their lives, and left their father sorrowing bitterly, for he never more saw them come home from battle alive, and his kinsmen divided his wealth among themselves. Then he came upon 2 sons of Priam, Ecamon and Chromius, as they were both in one chariot. He sprang upon them as a lion fastens on the neck of some cow or heifer when the herd is feeding in a coppice. For all their vain struggles, he flung them both from their chariot and stripped the armor from their bodies. Then he gave their horses to his comrades to take them back to their ships. When Aeneas saw him thus making havoc among the ranks, he went through the fight amid the rain of spears to see if he could find Pandarus. When he had found the brave son of Lycaon, he said, Pandarus, where is now your bow, your winged arrows, and your renown as an archer, in respect of which no man here can rival you, nor is there any in Lycia that can beat you? Lift then your hands to Jove, and send an arrow at this fellow who is going so masterfully about, and has done such deadly work among the Trojans. He has killed many a brave man, unless indeed he is some god who is angry with the Trojans about their sacrifices, and has set his hand against them in his displeasure. No way. How long is this chapter? Okay. I'm, I don't know if you can tell from my voice, but, I don't know, I started this with a lot of fervor, and now I'm starting to wane a bit. And I know I missed out on Friday. Just wish that the chapter was a bit closer to being over. I'll try to finish the chapter, but I might call it a little early, and I apologize for that. I know, like, first Friday stream and all this, but I don't know, I'm just suddenly feeling a little off. And the son of Lycaon answered, Aeneas, I take him for none other than the son of Tydeus. I know him by his shield, the visor of his helmet, and by his horses. It is possible that he may be a god, but if he is the man I say he is not making all this havoc without heaven's help, but has some god by his side, who is shrouded in a cloud of darkness, and who turned my arrow aside when it had hit him. I have taken aim at him already, and hit him on the right shoulder. My arrow went through the breastpiece of his cuirass, and I made sure I should send him hurrying to the world below, but it seems that I have not killed him. There must be a god who is angry with me. Moreover, I have neither horse nor chariot. In my father's stables there are 11 excellent chariots, fresh from the builder, quite new, with cloths spread over them, and by each of them there stand a pair of horses, champing barley and rye. My old father Lycaon urged me again and again when I was at home and on the point of starting, to take chariots and horses with me, that I might lead the Trojans in battle. But I would not listen to him. It would have been much better if I had done so, but I was thinking about the horses, which had been used to eat their fill, and I was afraid that in such a great gathering of men they might be ill-fed. So I left them at home and came on foot to Iliad, armed only with my bow and arrows. These, it seems, are of no use, for I have already hit 2 chieftains, the sons of Atreus and of Tydeus, and though I drew blood surely enough, I have only made them still more furious. I did ill to take my bow down from its peg on the day I led my band of Trojans to Iliad in Hector's service, and if ever I get home again to set eyes on my native place, my wife and the greatness of my house, may someone cut my head off then and there, if I do not break the bow and set it on a hot fire. Such pranks as it plays me. Aeneas answered, Say no more. Things will not mend till we go against this man with chariot and horses and bring him to a trial of arms. Mount my chariot, and note how cleverly the horses of Tros can speed hither and thither over the plain in pursuit of flight. If Jove again vouchsafes glory to the son of Tydeus, they will carry us safely back to this city. Take hold, then, of the whip and reins, while I stand upon the car to fight, or else do you wait this man's onset while I look after the horses. Aeneas, replied the son of Lycaon, take the reins and drive. If we have to fly before the son of Tydeus, the horses will go better for their own driver. If they miss the sound of your voice when they expect it, they may be frightened, and refuse to take us out of the fight. The son of Tydeus will then kill both of us, and take the horses. Therefore, drive them yourself, and I will be ready for him with my spear. They then mounted the chariot and drove full speed towards the son of Tydeus. Sthenelus, son of Capaneus, saw them coming and said to Diomed, Diomed, son of Tydeus, man after my own heart, I see 2 heroes speeding towards you, both of them men of might, the one a skillful archer, Pandarus, son of Lycaon, the other Aeneas, whose sire is Anchises, while his mother is Venus. Mount the chariot and let us retreat. Do not, I pray you, press so fiercely forward or you may get killed. Diomed looked angrily at him and answered, Talk not of flight, for I shall not listen to you. I am of a race that knows neither flight nor fear, and my limbs are as yet unwearied. I am in no mind to mount, but will go against them even as I am. Pallas Minerva bids me afraid of no man. Be afraid of no man, and even though one of them escape, their steeds shall not take both back again. I say further, and lay my saying to your heart, if Minerva sees fit to vouchsafe me the glory of killing both, stay your horses here, and make the reins fast to the rim of the chariot. Then be sure you spring Aeneas' horses, and drive them from the Trojan to the Achaean ranks. They are of the stock that great Jove gave to Tros in payment for his son Ganymede, and are the finest that live and move under the sun. King Anchises stole the blood by putting his mares to them without Laomedon's knowledge, and they bore him 6 foals. 4 are still in his stables, but he gave the other 2 to Aeneas. We shall win great glory if we can take them. Thus did they converse, but the other 2 had now driven close up to them, and the son of Lycaon spoke first. Great and mighty son, said he, of noble Tydeus, My arrow failed to lay you low, so I will now try with my spear. He poised his spear as he spoke, and hurled it from him. It struck the shield of the son of Tydeus. The bronze point pierced it, and passed on till it reached the breastplate. Thereon the son of Lycaon shouted and said, "You are hit clean through the belly. You will not stand out for long, and the glory of the fight is mine." But Diomed, all undismayed, made answer, "You have missed, not hit. And before you two see the end of this matter, one or other of you shall glut tough-shielded Mars with his blood." With this he hurled his spear, and Minerva guided it on to Pandarus's nose near the eye. It went crashing in among his white teeth. The bronze point cut through the root of his tongue, coming out under his chin, and his glistening armor rang rattling round him again as he fell heavily to the ground. The horses started aside for fear, and he was left of life and strength. Aeneas sprang from his chariot, armed with shield and spear, fearing lest the Achaeans should carry off the body. He bestrode it as a lion in the pride of strength, with shield and spear before him, and a cry of battle on his lips, resolute to kill the first that should dare face him. But the son of Tydeus caught up a mighty stone, so huge and great that as men now are it would take two to lift it. So huge and great... Oh, I read that already. Nevertheless, he bore it aloft with ease unaided, and with this he struck Aeneas on the groin, for the hip turns in the joint that is called the cup bone. The stone crushed this joint and broke both the sinews, while its jagged edges tore away all the flesh. The hero fell on his knees and propped himself with his hand resting on the ground, till the darkness of night fell upon his eyes. And now Aeneas, king of men, would have perished then and there, had not his mother, Jove's daughter Venus, who had conceived him by Anchises when he was herding cattle, been quick to mark, and thrown her two white arms about the body of her dear son. She protected him by covering him with a fold of her own fair garment, lest some Danaan should drive a spear into his breast and kill him. Thus, then, did she bear her dear son out of the fight. But the son of Capaneus was not unmindful of the orders that Diomed had given him. He made his own horses fast away from the hurly-burly, by binding the reins to the rim of the chariot. Then he sprang upon Aeneas' horses and drove them from the Trojan to the Achaean ranks. When he had so done, he gave them over to his chosen comrade Diphilus, whom he valued above all others as the one who was most like-minded with himself, to take them on to the ships. He then remounted his own chariot, seized the reins, and drove with all speed in search of the son of Tydeus. Now the son of Tydeus was in pursuit of the Cyprian goddess, spear in hand, for he knew her to be feeble, not one of those goddesses that can lord it among men in battle like Minerva or Enyo, the waster of cities. And when at last, after a long chase, he caught her up, he flew at her and thrust his spear into the flesh of her delicate hand. The point tore through the ambrosial robe, which the Graces had woven for her, and pierced the skin between her wrist and the palm of her hand, so that the immortal blood of Icar, that flows in the veins of the blessed gods, came pouring from the wound. For the gods do not eat bread nor drink wine, hence they have no blood such as ours, and are immortal. Venus screamed aloud and let her son fall, but Phoebus Apollo caught him in his arms, and hid him in a cloud of darkness, lest some Danaan should drive a spear into his breast and kill him. And Diomed shouted as he left her, "Daughter of Jove, leave war and battle alone. Can you not be contented with beguiling silly women? If you meddle with fighting, you will get what will make you shudder at the very name of war." The goddess went dazed and discomfited away, and Iris, fleet as the wind, drew her from the throng, in pain and with her fair skin all besmirched. She found fierce Mars waiting on the left of the battle, with his spear and his two fleet steeds resting on a cloud, whereon she fell on her knees before her brother and implored him to let her have his horses. "Dear brother," she cried, "save me and give me your horses to take me to Olympus, where the gods dwell. I am badly wounded by a mortal, the son of Tydeus, who would now fight even with Father Jove." Thus she spoke, and Mars gave her his gold bedizened steeds. She mounted the chariot sick and sorry at heart, while Iris sat beside her and took the reins in her hand. She lashed her horses on, and they flew toward nothing Eoth, and flew toward nothing Loth, till in a trice they were at high Olympus, where the gods have their dwelling. There she stayed them, unloosed them from the chariot, and gave them their ambrosial forage. But Venus flung herself onto the lap of her mother Dione, who threw her arms about her and caressed her, saying, "Which of the heavenly beings has been treating you in this way, as though you had been doing something wrong in the face of day?" And that is where, unfortunately, I'm going to have to call it. I know it's half the length of a regular stream, but I don't know, it just feels off. I'm sorry. I got some okay rest yesterday. I will try to do the same tonight, and hopefully I feel better tomorrow. Who knows? Maybe if I'm feeling good about the throat and all that, then I'll finish reading the chapter as a start to tomorrow's stream at 6, and if not, maybe I'll take it easy, but hopefully I'll be able to play some Mahjong, and maybe have some friend games or something. But yeah, thank you all for joining me anyway, and I appreciate the well wishing and the understanding. Have a good rest of your day.